And I think we're live.
Boom, we are live. Welcome, everybody. And before we get into our topic and discussion with our special guest, we were talking earlier before we went live, and Larry was asking when we started this, and I was just trying to find that out, actually, and I've got that information. We started this back in February 7th, 2021.
Wow.
The NoBS Photo Buzz. So so we're going to get right into it. And we have a very special guest. His name is Larry Hersberger. You can see him on the screen. Guys, if you have any questions, feel free. This is an open discussion. We're going to be here for about an hour. And before I ask Larry the first question, I just want to say that if you've been around the industry for any amount of time, you all know who Larry is. Because Larry, I think you're probably going back to the 80s, but as soon as I saw you online or whenever years ago, I said, that's the guy who started the off-the-wall prop company.
That's correct.
And
17 years straight.
Pardon me?
17 years.
And let me just say a little bit about that, and then I'm going to ask you for give us a sort of an overview of your life history, if you can, leading up to today. And I know you're recently married and you're a recent new dad, which is exciting. This is exciting times. And we'll dig into some of the deeper topics to do with fine art, photography, and possibly touch on a bit of marketing if that's... Sure. I have some interesting questions I want to ask you. But back in the day, I think in particular for me anyways, back in the 90s, if off-the-wall products were all the rage.
Oh, they were. Yeah. Well, the part of that started from the caliber of the products and what they did.
Yeah, they were amazing.
But also the marketing that we did. I mean, it's... It became, we ended up, I think we had clients in over 50 countries around the world.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. So we were pretty proud of that from Saskatchewan.
Yeah. And we're talking like Tuscan walls. I had the big beige colored staircase with the curved wall. Had that for many, many years. All kinds of products made out of, I believe, styrofoam, and it was very lightweight. You could pick up.
Yeah, there's a lot more to it than that. There was wood in it, and like there was plastics and spray equipment in them. It was a whole thing developed over years. But I mean that all stems back to growing up on the farm. Like when you need to build a new grain bin, you just go and build it. You got to build a barn, you go and build it. I mean, I knew how coming off the farm was like the best experience I could have ever dreamed of. Like you could do anything. So when it came to being a designer of products, I really did have a clear idea of how to design things and then how to build them.
Cool. So
we went from there.
Your farming background and obviously your entrepreneurial passion all ties in together and led to that company. Yeah. How long did that company last for? And did you sell it or did you just decide to move on?
17 years I had that company, then it got hit by the perfect storm. And just when sometimes you get hit by a perfect storm that you can't do anything about. And that particular one did. So I ended up losing that company. And but I've always said I never let one thing define me. Mm-hmm. And no one should ever let one thing define their life. It was a great part of my life. I met tons of people around the world. I traveled around the world. We went to trade shows with our products in like everything from the big shows in Europe and Scandinavia and
really
and United States and throughout Canada. Yeah, it was a great experience. But what it did is it led me up to really truly what I do today, because when I started that company, I literally drove through all the states in America except for Hawaii and Alaska, and also every province in Canada, excluding Newfoundland.
Cool. That's amazing.
I drove through them all, and any town that had 3,000 people had a studio. I went to over 3,000 studios.
Wow. So you were hardworking. I don't think I ever met you, but I always had the impression that you were a hardworking guy. I don't know where that came from.
I mean, when I started it, I just invested a whole bunch of money in a photography studio, and I built my own sets in the studio. And everybody said, "Hey, where'd you get these? What?" And I said, "Well, I built them." "Well, you built one for me." And it was actually Klaus Bone from Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan. And Klaus said, "Larry, you have something here that I think the rest of the world's going to want." And so, Cross
Cool.
gave me a list of about 10 different photographers he had trained in Alberta and Saskatchewan.
Yeah.
And he said, just go with my blessing and call him. So I put a pup tent in my 75 Toyota pickup.
Nice.
And I put a bunch of paints in the back, and I drove, stayed in campgrounds, went to a phone booth. This is prior to cell phones. And in the campground, picked the yellow pages up, called every one of those studios, and whoever would see me, I would show up on their doorstep, and I'd explain to them what I could do for building props and a small set. And if they said no, I said, can I paint a background in your studio while I'm here? and then I'd do whatever I had to do, and then you get on to the next one, and I'd go for 3 weeks.
Yeah,
Drive as far as I could for a week and a half, and then drive back and make everything and send it out. So that's how that all started. It was a grassroots effort.
That's amazing. Let me ask you this then, before we lead into what you're up to nowadays, because you said something a minute ago that was very interesting. It says everything led you to what you do now. Now, what I hear from you is no regrets.
Correct.
And also connect the dots. The way Steve Jobs says he connected the dots later on in life, and it all led to him creating Apple. And you also said never let the thing define you. So I love that attitude, and I think there's a very strong principle. Everything. Yeah. So no regrets. Connect the dots. Can you summarize that? Maybe you already did when you said never let the thing define me, or is there some other way that you can summarize the idea that there are no regrets and you can connect the dots that led you to where you are now, and tell us where you are now?
First of all, I do want to thank you for having me on the show. I didn't do that at the start, and I digress.
Thank you.
But I think if you talk to any true entrepreneur, a true entrepreneur, they're going to tell you the same thing. So I'm not some exclusive person that has figured out this magical thing I'm about to say.
Mm-hmm.
Entrepreneurs that are true entrepreneurs, a company is a company. It's a thing. A lot of things can happen with that company, and I can promise you that whatever company you open it up and whatever product that you make, it doesn't care about you. It doesn't. It's an entity, right? It's
right.
It is real, but it doesn't care about you. It doesn't care if it stays alive. It doesn't care if it dies. It doesn't care if you are really successful with it. It doesn't care. So an entrepreneur, a true entrepreneur, understands that, and you work hard to make it successful. If you planned right and you've done everything right, and you have also some luck on your side, it can be incredibly successful. Along that journey, you learn a ton of things. You can't help but learn things.
Yeah.
And so you become really good at some things, and if that company doesn't make it, or you sell that company, there's been other companies that I've sold, you take with you into the next company. And if you're a true entrepreneur, there is always a next company.
Right.
You go into the next company, taking with you, leaving the baggage, right, and going forward with everything that you've learned.
That's amazing.
And now you apply that to that next company. And it only gets better. Everything that you learn the first time around only gets better. I've never seen anything that's gotten worse.
Assuming you go forward, leave the baggage.
Assuming that you go forward, it's really difficult, though, when someone's been working for themselves for 20 years.
Yeah.
It's hard to go and get a job.
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
It's true.
It's very difficult to go get a job. You're not that employable anymore.
No.
But also, you should have gained a lot of knowledge, enough to go forward with what the next project is.
Yeah.
And be successful at it. And that's truly what I've done.
That's amazing. And I hate to say this, but I've met so many photographers who have quit, especially over the last 15 years. They just packed it in.
Yep.
My studio is, you might call it a legacy studio in our city. And I always tell people, I said, if you grow up in an area like most cities and towns in and around the world, there were about 10 to 12 studios. They're all gone.
Yes.
They've come and gone for various reasons. Some have retired, but a good many people that I've witnessed over the years have just packed it in, and they did go get jobs. But I guess to your point that there's that.
I don't think you're happy.
You have to be entrepreneurial, I think, to that point, though. You mentioned that.
But I know some that are entrepreneurial, that truly are entrepreneurial, that went and got jobs, and they've had like 5 or 6 or 7 different jobs.
Okay.
And they're not happy.
They're miserable. Okay.
right?
Well, it's like we were talking with James not too long ago, where we said it's not just being a photographer. You got to know how to run a business.
Yeah,
You do.
And that's a big part of it.
You have to.
Yes.
I mean, that business side of it is huge, and unfortunately, it was sorely lacking in the photographic industry in studios.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, there's a couple other things about, I think, that what happened. I mean, the photography industry also, much like Kodak, ran into a perfect storm as well, and it couldn't change quick enough. What happens is, and you know, I'll say this with no disrespect to anyone, right? I'm serious. I like to shoot from the hip a little bit on what I say, but you know, it's for anybody that's watching this, and you have had a studio and you've closed it. You know, what happened when I went out and I traveled to 3,000, 3,500 studios in person, I was shocked to see that the entire industry was canvas, curtains, carpet, old chair. Sound familiar, right? Or else you wouldn't be laughing.
You described my studio, 1985.
Correct. Correct. The entire industry was canvas, curtains, carpet, old chair, and there's even books on how to set up your canvas or carpet up to your canvas. I mean, the industry was inundated in one thing. The lighting was very similar, posing was all very similar, and if you marketed well, generally the general public was doing well, so they purchased, and you could have a successful business and write a ton about business,
right?
Because there was lots of business. Now, the minute you take business away from that scenario, and you look just like your five competitors,
yep,
and you don't know how to market or sell and run your business, now you're in trouble.
Yep.
And what happened is digital did change things, but then so did the internet.
Yes.
And therein lies the perfect storm that hit the industry.
All right.
Now, for those that were good business people and those that embraced Photoshop and embraced everything digital, digital camera, digital everything, embrace new softwares and new ways of doing things, embrace new ways of marketing online. For those people that embraced all of that, wow, they're in heaven. And their studio that might have been at the bottom of the pack suddenly quickly rose to the top. And a lot of the old guard that were like, I'm going to keep doing, I know what I've done successfully for 20 years in a row, and by God, I'm going to keep doing it that way. Right?
Stubborn.
And that was the problem.
Yep. Stubborn.
And if they weren't willing to make that change, or they just didn't want to, then they said, I'm out.
Yeah. That's what happened, eh?
That's
amazing. So what do you tell the young person who looks at you and says, yeah, but you're talking about back in those days. I'm not like that. Or they have some other alternate mindset. You know, there seems to be a real serious lack in the actual core principle and values of what you're extolling. And I think it's timeless. I think it's absolutely timeless what you're presenting
I'll tell
to
you something, Rob. I've been I really am excited about going on to Clubhouse. I'm on Clubhouse a fair amount, not in the last month or so because I'm in my busy season and I'm swamped. But when I do go into Clubhouse, I've got some rooms in there that I work at, and I'm telling you, I don't really see that much, Rob. What you just said. The younger generation, they're lacking in lighting knowledge. They're lacking in how to, like, they can make nice pictures. But they don't really know exactly how they made them. Yeah. Like they know that if they set that lighting up again in those specific spots, it's going to happen again. But they don't know why it's happening.
Right.
And quite frankly, a lot of them don't care as long as they can reproduce it.
Exactly.
But that keeps them from creating. You know, it creates a breed of duplicators as opposed to a breed of creators. And there's a big difference. There are very few creators.
Yes.
Creators understand the game. They understand what's going on, and they can get an idea in the head. They've got all the knowledge inside to actually bring that idea to reality.
Yeah.
So this is what I'm talking about to this young crew that's on a lot of our Clubhouse, and we're talking photographers that are anywhere from age 30 to 45. And they really want to succeed. They really, really, really want to succeed, and they want to know.
Yeah.
Right, and that's good. I love that. Is that there's a huge group that's just begging for more knowledge. They are somewhat reluctant to learn the business side of it until I start throwing some numbers at them of what they can earn.
Yeah.
Then what happens?
Then they're like, well, okay, So tell me more about that again. Right?
Tell me
They're
more.
like, well, wait a minute. So you're doing that in today's environment? Well, how do I find clients like that? And I'm like, I
They're
could move
everywhere.
to your neighborhood, and the clients would be there too.
Yeah.
It's not about finding the clients; it's you creating the proper system.
Yes.
So that has always been my thing when I'm teaching, and I do a lot of teaching,
Yeah.
and to studios, and another one of my companies is Art of Magic and Light, and that is all my workshops and whatnot, and that's great. It's a way that I can give back to the industry from 30 years of knowledge, and I'm one of those people that stays very, very current. If there's
Cool.
something new in the industry, I'm on it.
Yeah.
If there's I don't care what it is. If there's a new microphone that I can make my online stuff work better, I'm in it.
Nice.
I think that's another big thing that photographers need to do is they need to stay current because the world is racing by them if they're not.
And see, I live in a town. I'm in Petawawa, Ontario, which is a military town, military base and stuff. And a lot of what we used to call MWACs in the day, or mothers with a camera. Their husbands are gone away. Now it's sometimes the wives are gone away, and the guys, and they take nice pictures. And everybody's like, "Oh, you take nice pictures. You should be a professional." So they open up a Facebook page. Now they're a professional photographer, and they're just here, $50, $100. We'll shoot it, and here's a disc with all your images. And so with your workshops, have you found a lot that have come in that were shoot and burners, as we say, and they've been willing to convert?
Some, yes, and they're scared to convert.
Yeah,
like this whole thing about IPS. It makes me laugh.
In-person sales.
Yeah, there's now an acronym for in-person sales.
For people who are wondering, I'd like to go down that road. Tell us what more where you're going with that, Larry.
Well, IPS, in-person sales. We've been doing in-person sales forever. That was the norm. There was no other option than in-person sales. That was it. And there's nothing like in-person sales. And then somebody said, well, be careful how much you push someone into in-person sales because they could really make a mistake, a blunder. And if they're not prepared for in-person sales, they could hurt their business. And I'm like, I don't know
either.
Come on. If you had something to sell me, and I said, well, okay, I'll come on over and I'll take a look at that lawnmower that I want to buy. You'd say, okay, come on over, let's look at it. And you tell me all about your lawnmower, show me how it cuts, and I'd buy it, and I'd put it on my vehicle and I'd drive away. You would say, let me set up a Zoom call for you. To show you my lawnmower. Like there is no like mysterious art to having a conversation and going for coffee with somebody and buying and selling something.
Yep. That's a very good point. So you're a big believer in really no alternative in-person sales, the only way to go.
No, listen, I sell to a lot of, my clients, it's funny when you said, John, my studio is in like a military town. Well, I right from the very beginning, I've always said I'm marketing to the world. I serve a global clientele, and we have clients that have come from over 30 states, 5 different countries.
Really?
Yeah. Well, this last weekend we did 3 days of Santa sessions, and we do 5 sessions a day. But we had one from Arizona. We had one that flew their kids in from Vermont, and I'm from Tampa, and we did the sessions in Greensboro, in North Carolina.
Nice. Really?
So we have clients that come in from everywhere. Now those clients that they're flying back to Arizona, they have to be sold to via Zoom. They have to be. So I can't do in person, but can I? So what I do is I make sure I have a proper sales system all set up with all the products. Everything's merchandised, emphasis on merchandised properly, so it looks extraordinary. And then make sure I show them everything and walk them through it, find out what they want prior. Now it's already pre-sold over the phone, so I know what they're commissioning me for, and I'm getting a deposit for that commission. Then they see what they're buying right there before the session. So I've already got money in the bank before I even do the session, before I even press a button. And they already know what they're going to buy, and I know what they're going to buy. So now, by the time I get to the Zoom, all I'm doing is filling in the blanks with really good art.
All right. The sale's done.
The sale's already done.
Yeah.
None of this is difficult.
No.
Yeah. So what do you suppose? Is it fear, lack of experience? So many would look at it and go, in-person sales. Ooh.
Yeah, no, I'll give you the quick answer.
Sure.
The quick answer is they don't value their product.
Yep.
Because
Okay.
they grew up as
Oh.
that mom that was going, there's no way I'm spending that from that photographer.
Yeah.
And that person became a pro photographer. So they can't get the words, that size framed print is worth $3,800. They can't say the sentence.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they can't.
But then if they can't value
Say it.
themselves and their own product, how's the client going to value that?
Well, that's their, and therein lies the problem.
Yeah.
Therein lies the problem.
So I always tell students, I said, you got one of your things you got to do tonight. You got to go home, look in the mirror, and you got to say, that 40-inch piece framed, ma'am, is worth $3,800.
Yeah. Without blinking
And
sweating.
smile and feel good about it and feel conviction in your voice. And you've got to feel strength. And matter of fact, you've got to say something so extraordinary that she was salivating over it. And if you can't do that, then you're in the wrong industry. Either that, or there's another option: get into volume.
Okay.
That's another option. And there's a business model for everything.
Mhm.
But if you think that you're going to do just a few sessions a month and make a living, and actually make a living out of it, and mark your raw goods up by 1 times markup, you're going to go out of business.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to work really, really, really hard and then go out of business. And then what's going to happen is your company won't care. No longer around. It won't care.
No.
So what advice do you got for the person who's...
You will hurt. You will hurt. You'll be telling everybody how you missed photography and how much it hurt.
Yeah.
But your company won't. Your company will, like, listen, if you want to figure out the game and come back and open me up again, I'm right in your closet.
I'm right there.
Yeah, right there. Anytime. I'm ready.
So what advice would you give the person who's struggling with this, who's got that they don't value their work sort of mindset, and you just fake it till you make it, just push forward?
This is something that I've been asked this year to do a master class on this next year. And
Right.
I've talked to my wife, Ella, and I think we're going to do that, give a master class on selling, period. Because, I just don't see that many places where people can actually get the correct goods on how to sell.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
This is valuable.
And how to merchandise.
Yeah.
Like, you have to be able to merchandise your product.
You're going to have to give me the info on this, and I'm going to spread it to my group when you have that. If it's unless you sell it out, but let me know that, would you please?
Yeah, definitely.
I will, and
we'll promote it for you.
I think it's very sorely needed in the industry.
No kidding. Yeah.
I also think that it boils down to, like, let me give you an example. I mean, I have, for my Santa work right now, my averages, and this goes back to, I start my Santa work in my fine art Santa work in July, and right now we've done work between July and the end of October, and the sales to date on those were averaging about 5,700 a session.
Wow.
So, that's fair, right? I mean, you would think about it. If somebody wants a custom storybook, I always say you're getting me now for the cheapest you'll ever get me.
All right.
It's not, my price isn't going down anytime soon. So if I'm writing a custom storybook for your child that features all this beautiful artwork, it doesn't come out of the camera looking like that, right? So I do a custom storybook, and then I also make a 4-foot piece of artwork, a stunning piece of artwork.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, we do Christmas cards and we do ornaments and all that. I mean, what do you think that should be worth? Right? I mean, am I supposed to do that for $500? And here's the rub. When I first started the fine art magical Santa photography, and there was no one else doing it, and don't let anyone else tell you that there was, because there wasn't. I mean, I know for a fact I was the very first one to start this style of photography.
Right.
And artwork. And when I started it, everybody said to me, like, you're nuts, Larry. You think that people are going to spend thousands of dollars for Santa pics? See, the industry itself had already made a line in the sand when it came to Santa and photography.
You're right.
Everybody would get a Santa for a day or a weekend once a year, and they make it close to Christmas. The kids would come in, hop up on my knee, right here, smile.
Right.
What do you want for Christmas? Click next, and they would maybe make a $150 per session, and they would make $2,000 for the day, and out the door.
Right.
And that was Santa photography, and it was like that for 100 years.
Yeah.
Right. So now, how would you call that being audacious? That I came in and said, no, we're going to do fine art Santa work that is capturing the wonder of a child in an iconic Santa moment. And do that, it will be exquisite fine art that can be put up as the key feature piece in your home. For not only for Christmas, because now one mother said, no, I leave it up year round, and I love it. I always there. And I said, oh, that's wonderful. You leave it year round. I do too. She said, well, I don't take down a Rockwell either.
That's a good way to say it.
It was a very, very nice compliment. But,
Yes.
she said, I will not take it down. And nobody walks into my house and goes, why do you have a Santa picture up there? They walk up and they stand there and they gaze at it because they feel it.
They feel it.
Right. So that's the whole thing. I said, if I'm going to do this, it has to be fine art. So what is fine art? Because that's another whole conversation. It's like, unfortunately, the industry, I think, made a boo-boo there as well in telling people in the industry, you go home and change your verbiage and call it fine art and increase your prices and start selling more.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a problem because the buyers that are discerning buyers, they know when something's not fine art. If there's no composition, if there's no light harmony, color harmony, if there's no, if all these things are incorrect, they look at it and go, you want me to pay a fine art price, but that's not fine art. Now, if you can, in fact, create fine art that doesn't look like it's from the 80s, okay, important fact. If you can, then you've got a new audience, an entire new buyer that's waiting to spend money on something that touches their inner child. Now, if it touches the parent's inner child and it touches the grandparent's inner child at the same time, you have a fantastic product.
That's a good point, man.
You have a fantastic product. And that is what we did. I focused on that. And for me, it was very, very clear. If you're a photography studio, you're also a retailer. You may be an artist, yes, and a photographer, or both.
Right.
But you're also a retailer. You're buying things at wholesale and you're selling them at a retail price. Now, if you look at any other industry, what's the number one biggest time of the year for retailers? Christmas.
Yes.
Without question. I mean, it's like there's everything else, and then there's Christmas. But photographers, that was like the last thing they did. They made it into silly and into Santa pics, and that's about it. And now they did Santa Christmas formals, which I think I know some photographers has done a really good job with that.
Yeah.
And so they did then take that seriously the Christmas time. And so, it is possible as long as you're creating that product that mothers and grandmothers both love.
Wow.
Right. And so that was the kind of the start of all this is, okay, I want Christmas money and I want to do Christmas art because I want to be in that Christmas game. So, in the last quarter of the year, we do an extraordinary amount of business. In the last half of the year, that's when we do probably 8/10 of our year's income. So, but we have the next, the first half of the year where we work on educational stuff.
Right.
But the two aren't, one tail isn't chasing the other.
Right.
Because I think that's a problem if one tail's chasing the other to try to fill a void.
Yeah.
Right. So we have stretched our Christmas wider. Well, has the entire retail industry? They've stretched the Christmas thing wider too. Christmas in July used to be one day. Now it's the entire month.
Yeah, that blows me away.
Yeah. So, anyways, that's that gives you an idea of why I started the Christmas work.
Yeah.
But why I still have time to do my fine art painting and fine art portraiture as well, and that's for Masterpiece Artwork.
You said something that sheds light on something I've struggled with, and I had this conversation with John earlier today. We were talking on the phone, and I sort of said, this whole Santa thing. I know, like Maria and a few others, and I'm going to put you at the apex of all of this, these Christmas themed pictures. I was like, I just don't get it. People want Santa picture, but now it makes sense. And I'll tell you why. It's what you said when you explained how the people come over and they gaze at the picture, and that represents what you said. You said it touches their inner child, and it's the parents who are being touched as well as the child and the grandparents and all the people coming to visit, and they see that artwork on the house.
How
just
did
like
you
a rock.
think about Santa when you were 5 years old?
Yeah.
Oh, he scared the hell out of me, but I loved him.
He had gifts, he had candy, he had all kinds.
Yeah.
I mean,
Was,
Santa could fly. Santa
so
came down
magical.
the chimney. You know, we always put up milk and cookies for him. I mean, Santa was bigger than Superman. Matter of fact, Santa brings Superman a gift at Christmas. I mean, come on, he is the king.
Yeah.
He's
By the way,
very, very top.
By the way, we used to leave a pack of smokes and a black label beer for our Santa.
Okay, so here's the other thing about the Santa, and this is the other thing. The reason why you, as an adult, okay, this is the adult you talking. We're like, really, Santa? Okay, that's the adult you talking.
Yep.
Okay.
No, I get it now, though.
But the inner child,
Yep.
like Santa.
Yeah.
Wow.
Touches you at a deep level.
My job as a creator was to create a product that was fine art proof. So any curator could look at my work and go, "This is great art."
Mm-hmm.
Suitable for a gallery. It had to be lit extraordinarily well. It had to have all composition, color, everything. But it had to be something that no one's ever seen before.
Mm-hmm.
So I made it magical because I knew Santa had to be magic when I was 5.
Yeah.
Right. So if I could make these images and wrap them around iconic, the word iconic.
Yeah.
That means that the marketing's already been done for this.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that's a very important fact. The marketing was already completed over the last 100 years. When can you tap into 100 years of marketing?
Yes.
Right? That's
Yep.
powerful. So that's what I did is I tapped into 100 years of marketing. That kids already loved Santa. And there was all these iconic Santa things that are in movies and in books and in songs and in all these things. So how could I take that and then I will create a bespoke Christmas storybook for you, that you could read to your children and grandchildren, and it will feature your grandchildren and Santa.
Very magical.
It'll be their dream on the night before Christmas when they go to Santa's workshop at 5 to midnight, learn the secrets of the North Pole and the true meaning of Christmas. So there's purpose and meaning to it.
See, and it shows how far he's brought it, because the kids will look and say, "I want a Santa picture," but the adults will say, "I want a Larry Hersberger."
Correct.
And that's a brand right there that you've just
It's a brand. The brand has really grown, actually, not only from photographers either copying what we do, which at the beginning it really set my nerve, right? I mean, I was like, "Come on, really?" But as you go on, you start to see like 50 studios copying your work. You're like, you know what? What do you do?
Maybe it's a good thing.
Well, you got to let it go. You got to just move forward and keep designing, because everybody's not a creator. The bulk of all people are duplicators, and they'll put their spin on it and want to do whatever they want. That's fine. It's fine. It's good. Yeah. If that helps save their studio or makes them a bunch of money, God bless them. Okay. But for me, I'm going to keep creating and leading that way, because I'm not doing it for them. I'm doing it because I'm a creator.
Yeah.
Because I have to. It's part of my DNA. It's who I am. So I will continue to create and make really, really cool stuff and push this even further and move it forward. I mean, we have people from all around the world that bring their kids in. Who does that?
I know,
if they don't like the art, like we just had 2 families come in from Nashville. They drove 9 hours with their kids.
Nice.
Now, who drives 9 hours from a big city like Nashville that is just loaded with studios?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
They could go to someone there and get some kind of Christmas picture.
Yeah.
But they chose my brand.
Yes.
That's when you know the brand is
It reminds me of that $1 million photographer they call him in California. There, I forget his name offhand, but he gets football players from the NFL
Correct.
all over. He gets all the rich people, and they'll fly right to his studio to get one shot. They'll shoot for half an hour, but they'll pay $10,000 for that one 30 by 40 picture that's going above their man, or 100,000 or whatever. Yeah, they'll do it because that brand, he's built it.
Right, and that's where we're at. I mean, that's why I tell people, if you think about it, I'm making from one session, I might make 20 pieces of artwork. That's 20 pieces of artwork.
Mm-hmm.
Think about it, what it takes to do a painting. I mean, to do 20 pieces of artwork.
Yeah,
Nice.
Right, and I'm only getting like $5,000 to $7,000. I mean, I think I'm getting absolutely robbed. No, I'm not kidding you.
I get it. I get what you're saying.
For a lifetime of knowledge of art, all the effort to put up the set and hire professional Santa and have staff there, and I mean, it's a major production. We do all kinds of things, and then I have to write a storybook too.
Yeah.
Who could write a storybook set to poetry? Right? I mean, whimsical children's storybooks. So now I do all of that, and that's all I'm getting. Right? Yeah. So for me, I look down the road, and I'm like, in 10 years from now, that $5,000 to $7,000 will be $20,000 at the very minimum.
That's where it's going, eh?
That's where it's going. And I know that people will be like, oh, whatever, just I'm rolling my eyes at them. They're going to pay that for Santa work. Well, they will.
They will.
I guarantee you they will. It's just got to get down. The brand, you can't, when you're building a brand, you can't jump from here to here. It doesn't work like that. You have to build the brand.
Okay, that leads me to my next question. I'm itching to ask you this. All the stuff you talked about, did you know all this from the very start, or you sort of figure it out step by step, phase by phase as you went along and evolved?
Well, I learned a lot by doing a lot of global sales and selling for marketing for many years at Off the Wall. I learned tons with that.
Right.
But I'm also a quick study, as a good entrepreneur should be. You take a look at the trends. You sit down, look what you've done every year. You make your decisions. And you move forward. I mean, you build on all the knowledge that you have. And nowadays things are moving so quickly. You better be learning everything you can learn and keep moving forward.
Right.
Because it's not going to come lay in your lap.
Yeah.
You can't just rely on the past. You've got to really be engaged with the present way of marketing and selling. But you have to be fearless about selling.
Fearless.
You have to be fearless. You have to know that artwork has value, period. And but here's the tricky part. Someone will come and get training from me on how to do Santa work, and then they'll do everything else the same, but the artwork will not look good. And you could tell them 10 ways to Sunday of why it doesn't look good, but they can't see it.
They can't see it.
They either can't see it or they don't think it matters.
Okay.
And that's a problem. It's a big problem.
I think number 2 is a bigger problem.
Yeah. Well, and if you're not willing to solve either one of those, you could actually get yourself in trouble.
No doubt.
Because now you're trying to sell a false product to the general or to discerning buyers, and that's the reputation you're going to get quickly.
Yeah.
You're not going to last.
You're not going to last. And then you come back and say, what I learned from you doesn't work. I'm like, well, it actually works really well, but you
do it properly.
You can't cut any corners. No.
This powerful stuff.
They're like, well, I didn't cut any corners, but if they can't see the corner that they're not cutting, or that they're cutting, then how do they even establish what the issue is?
No.
They can't see it.
You can put that in, even Rob, with your fairy portraits. You can do the same thing. You can teach them till they're blue in the face how to do your fairy portraits, but if they're going to cut corners, it's not going to look the same.
I know what you're talking about, and that's a really, really important point. And
it is.
There's so many things of value that you have said from a curator would recognize it as fine art. And when you say that, I'm going to put your clients in the same boat because they recognize the difference and they see it and they hear you sell and whatever you have to say in order to sell your product, and they're on board. They'll spend the money at that point in time. They are mentally, emotionally bought into it and willing to fork over the money.
Well, and I don't even think it's forking over the money. I don't. I think it's more. I don't like to phrase it that way. I'm big
Yeah.
on this is something that's very important to me. I'm really big on using the correct verbiage and speaking in a vernacular that
All
fits
right.
what,
All
what
right.
my life is. Right. If you want to have a better life, then you better start living the life that you want to have. Right. If you want to manifest things that will come to you, and you really understand the law of attraction,
Yeah.
then you got to start being what you're going to be. And the way that you phrase that means that well, if they're going to fork over the money, well, that kind of means that it's got a connotation that they're reluctant to pay you. That they maybe think it's too much.
So how would you rephrase that?
Well, I would say for someone to make an investment in a fine art commission, this is what it costs. I mean, it's very simple.
Very simple.
I mean, it's art, right? I mean, if I'm selling art and I'm a seasoned artist, and if I'm selling art and I'm taking a commission from someone, and they expect it to be not only beautifully framed, but be the centerpiece of their home, and they may have a $300,000 painting on the wall,
Uh-huh.
right? I need to. So this is a good example. I just said $300,000 painting. Those are some of my paintings.
Yeah.
And Ella and I, my wife's also a painter and oil painter, and we paint together. So, if our work is going to stand the test of time,
Mm-hmm.
and if you go onto Masterpiece Artwork, you will see the verbiage that I'm talking about.
Okay.
You will see how we speak about what we do, and whether it's in the written word or spoken word. And I think that's extraordinarily important, because anyone that meets us, they walk away feeling value,
Wow.
right? They feel that value. They understand that we feel our own value, and that we are fearless in giving them that price. And I'm also fearless in letting them walk out the door and not book us.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not there, if you're like, wait, I'll lower that price so I can get you, right away, you are on mud on the bottom of their shoes, because they have you.
Very
They
well
have you
said.
by the throat, right? If you want to really talk sales, as soon as you do that, that buyer, because that's usually a discerning buyer that knows what they're doing, they've got you right by the throat up against the wall, and you are screwed, because you can't go backwards from that comment.
Yeah. What
Right?
a description.
So well, it's a true description.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to put it into reality, you've got to be that one that is self-confident, fearless, knowledgeable about not just your product, but knowledgeable about where that product's going to be and how it's going to get there.
Yeah.
You've got to be that one that is self-confident about asking more questions than you're saying. So you have to ask that client a lot of questions and let them speak to you and listen. So that when you're speaking to them, you're speaking to them with knowledge that you've gained. But also, you should care about them anyways. I mean, it's nothing better than a multi-million-dollar client that likes you.
Yeah.
Right?
Great place to be.
If they don't like you and they're like, oh, I'll go through this because I want to get the art. Well, that's one thing. But if they really like you and then they get the art, they're going to tell 100 of their friends. Mm-hmm. They're going to have a dinner party and invite you to it.
That kind of stuff happens, eh?
It happens. But it starts with making a decision about yourself. Mm-hmm. It's that look in the mirror in the morning. So that photographer that's saying, I don't understand how you make this kind of money, and how you make these kind of sales. It is effing crazy. And I'm like, well, I certainly don't talk like that. That's not going to get it for me.
No. And I also noticed on your website, you actually go that extra mile too. I've seen there was a picture of you actually hanging the picture in a client's home.
Yes.
With white
gloves
and everything.
Well, we actually take it a step further with Masterpiece Artwork, and I don't know if you want to get into that, but it's pretty crazy what we actually do with Masterpiece.
We can touch on it real quick.
Yeah, if we have a client that wants to do any size of oil painting, and they wanted to get into something pretty extreme, for example, maybe they want a special frame, an antique frame from Italy. Frames like that can be $20,000-$30,000 just for the frame, and they're a signature piece by themselves,
Yeah.
but they want their painting in that frame. And then they want to do a reveal party.
Nice.
So I've got a team of people that we have set up to actually do these reveals.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, Elle and I are there as well. But like maybe they want to have, Lady Gaga performing at their reveal party. Well, we can do that because we've set up the connection with a celebrity attorney in New York City that can get anyone anywhere on the planet.
Nice.
So what we wanted to do is we say, if you want to hire us and commission us to do just a nice portrait on canvas, we can do that, and we have that price for you. So we kind of fit anybody's budget. But
Right.
if someone says, listen, I want something extraordinary.
Right.
I want a celebrity chef, and I want entertainment that night, and I want to bring 100 of my favorite friends, and I wanted an oil painting and I want it on an easel, and I want it or up on the big spot on the wall, and I want to get silk over it, and we're going to unveil it, and then we're going to have a big party. I want you to do it.
Nice. You're more than just an artist at that point, aren't you?
Well, am I? What you're doing is it's a celebration of your life in the arts.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So it's still art.
Yeah.
It's all art.
I got to ask you a question about that. We're getting down to about 12 minutes before we're going to let you go. Everything you've said,
I can't talk for just an hour.
This has been absolutely golden. I mean, I'm really, really liking what you've had to say and what you share with us. I mean, really, this has been amazing. But there's a picture of you and your wife, and you said you guys paint together. And there were some pictures that John showed in those beautiful ornate frames, which I always have. I love that look.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
Were those paintings or portraits that were painted, like actual in-studio portraits that you paint on top of?
I always start with a photograph.
Okay.
And we actually have our process right on our website.
Right. Okay, it's all there.
Oh, yeah, it's all on our website. I make sure that nobody's got any question. I mean,
Okay.
it is a 100% original oil painting when we are finished.
Okay.
We do an ink transfer onto canvas. It's 100% archival. We make sure that all the substrates that go in between that and the finished oil painting are also archival. And if you can't say archival, you can't sell it as archival.
Yeah.
So we make sure that we've got all that embraced. In order to call it an original oil painting, it has to be an original oil painting. We have to have been the creator, and we have to have the surface has to be 100% oil. Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, 100% oil, opaque 100% oil, right? Yeah. And that is what we do. So it's a technique that Elle and I really have developed and worked really hard on. Again, is it embracing technology as well? It is. Here's the way I look at that, and I explain this to clients too. So there was a time when oil paint, the only time oil paint was made was hand ground. The pigments were ground and the oils were poured in, and the artist made all that, or he had his assistants make it. And then all of a sudden one day, oil paints started coming in a container, and then in a tube. And it was kind of like going from film to digital. Like
good analogy.
The painters freaked out. They were like, that's not real because you didn't. It's not real because you didn't mix the paint yourself.
Right.
Right. So there was this big argument that's not really real paintings because the paint was already pre-mixed.
Yeah.
Okay. So then it moved. Let's go fast forward. A couple hundred years later, and and all of a sudden they come up with that projector that will project the image on the canvas, and then they go in and then the person would sketch where the projector is showing it. And well, that's not a real oil painting because you're projecting it on. It's not freehand all.
Right.
Right. When in essence now it's fully accepted as a method of getting the. See, the biggest issue that we're up against in today's world is time. Right. Mm-hmm. Time is of the essence. So what I've learned over the years, which is why I chose to, which is why I chose to be and learn to become a master photographer, is I want to be able to create the look that I want with light, and composition, and do it digitally first.
Mm-hmm.
It's not only speeds it up, but I have way more control of the creative process than I've ever had, than any artist has ever had in the past. So now I can create things that have never been created before. Now, for me to do a transfer of that and get that likeness over onto this canvas, and then do a full oil painting, and by God, you better be an oil painter, because if you're not, you will end up having a big old mess on your hands.
Mm-hmm.
It'll look like a 2-year-old did it, which nowadays might sell. But
Just put a Picasso's name on it, and there you go.
But no, sincerely, it's just a different evolution.
Yeah.
As long as and I even went to the extent of going to an attorney that deals in this and said to him, okay, what I'm doing, I market it as an original oil, and I've had other artists, and listen, I can draw anything, I can paint anything, but I don't have the time to do a lot of this. So
Right.
I've come up with a different system, but there, you get artists that are saying, well, that's not an original oil painting because you didn't start on just raw canvas.
Right.
Well, the reality is that when I went and got legal advice, they're like, did you make the design the original image? Did you take the original image? Did you do the artwork on the original image? And did you paint the original image? The answer all the way through is yes. He said, then you are selling an original oil painting.
Okay.
As long as it's 100% original oil.
You consulted with a lawyer on this.
Correct. Well, I don't want to guess at it and then be caught.
No. Yeah, in case.
I want to know. And so he gave me, here's the things that you have to do.
Right.
For it to be an original oil painting. And when you stand in front of an original oil painting that we've done, and then you stand in front of a picture of it, printed on canvas beside it, there is no comparison.
Really? Yeah.
The original oil is so stunning and vibrant with the colors. And, oh, by the way, it'll last 500 years.
Yeah, yeah.
So and I tell each client that when you choose to do an oil painting, you're not just doing this for your family, you're becoming part of art history. Yeah. And Ella, my wife, always says, Mona Lisa was someone's daughter.
Yeah.
It was a commission. Yeah. He didn't paint that thinking this is going to be one of the most famous paintings in the world. Mm-hmm. It was a commission. Mm-hmm. Right? And we're the same way. We're just at the cusp of something new. But I embraced it in new. I've always embraced new, and I will fearlessly defend new.
Yes.
That's part of creation.
Yeah. Yeah. That's amazing. So I got 2 pages of notes so far. I have some couple questions if I can ask.
Sure.
I got a couple of whimsical questions if we got time.
I'll give you some magical answers.
Yeah. Well, let's go quick on this one. You said everything is merchandised. Can you give us a quick example of what that means?
Well, sure. I mean, go for a walk in New York City or go for a walk in downtown Toronto. I mean, you're going to walk along and go to a store that sells watches or diamonds and take a look in the window. Now, take that watch or that diamond and set it on a counter in the shade by itself. It's going to look like a piece of whatever. It looks like something from a dime store. But put it back in that window under that beautiful, beautiful setup that they have with stunning lights, and that thing's going to look like it's worth what it is worth, probably $100,000. Mm-hmm. That's merchandising. So I'm showing my work. Like when you walk into our gallery here, and you see every piece is properly lit with gallery lighting. Mm-hmm. Right? Nice. Everything is framed beautifully. When I'm on location at a luxury hotel doing the capture there, and I have it all set up, it's all on beautiful easels and there's spotlights on everything. There's a table with lights and the felt and everything is just lit and there's space between each piece. Nothing's crowded. Mm-hmm. I don't try to sell or show way too many pieces. I sell in the power of 3 and
right.
So, there's a whole bunch of things that fit into the sales process. But you can't get to the sales process without having it merchandised so that the value is high. Then how do you dress? How do you speak? Does it match your merchandising? Because you are part of the merchandising.
Yeah, so true. Hey, what about your typical session? I'm guessing that they're sort of customized to a degree when the client comes in. Do you discuss this in advance? And when
absolutely. I do all my sales over the phone when they first call.
Yeah.
All my sales are done over the phone, and I get at least a $1,500 deposit down.
Mm-hmm.
Because I always get approximately a third of the order up front.
Right.
But this is without them ever even seeing me or seeing my work.
Right.
They've seen it online on either Facebook or social media or website. Now it totally matters what I say to them and how I say it.
Right.
Because I need to build that value up in their mind and that desire. Now that desire is slowly being built up in our marketing campaigns that are happening prior.
Mm-hmm.
Those marketing campaigns are multifaceted and happen over a period of months. So by the time they talk to me, they've already been hit numerous times.
Okay.
So now my sales routine can go into place right away, and I'm able to then get them booked right there, and then they give me their credit card.
And you use a real life Santa.
No, he's dead, but he's pretty accurate.
So when they come in, though, I mean, the experience the child has.
He's a Santa, but quite often I'll have a Santa. You'll get sick or something, and I have to do a different Santa, or if I go do a workshop in some other city, I'll hire a local Santa. And although my Santa is a great Santa, he's in the Hall of Fame. He's a great Santa. However, I could take any Santa and bring him into one of my sessions. I will position him and do whatever I have to do to him afterwards and post, and he will look like the best Santa in the world. And everyone, how did you get two great Santas? You got to do what you got to do.
But mostly in reference to the experience that the child has meeting Santa in your studio setting, and all of that extra layer, the experience that they go through must add a whole layer of dynamism.
Yeah, in my world, I don't want Santa to speak very much.
No way.
I do the directing of the play.
All right, that's cool.
And I'm the one that makes the children excited, and Santa knows when to speak and when not to.
That's so cool.
Because it's all choreographed. He knows what to do, when to say it. I give him the cues, and I call him my Arnold Schwarzenegger Santa. Mm-hmm. The kids are going to have a great time with him, but he's not going to take them off track.
Nice. So you train them, and you're managing all of this. And do any of the parents cry? Do they cry during this?
Sure, they cry and they laugh, and because their inner child's fully out watching all this.
Right.
They're loving it. Yeah. So they'll end up. I always tell you, you're going to laugh, you're going to cry. Tears are going to come from your eyes twice, once in laughter and once in crying.
That's so nice.
And they do.
Hey, you said law of attraction earlier. Is that something you're somewhat into? It's an area that I've always been aware of, studied, and I'm back into studying it since I discovered Neville Goddard. I don't know if
it doesn't matter whether anyone's into it or not. They're already in it.
There's something to it, though.
No, we're all in it.
Yeah.
Whether people think they are, or whether they are studied, or whether they do anything, they're already in it. Because if you're a negative person, or a whining person, complaining person, if you are a backwards person, whatever, because I don't want to offend anyone.
No,
but if that's what if you're dealing, maybe you're dealing with some horrific things in your life that have aren't a fault of your own, but you're struggling to get through those things. Okay, whatever you're being on a fully day-to-day basis, you have 24 hours to live. That's it. You can't live yesterday and you can't live tomorrow. So life is within a 24-hour jar, and really 8 of that sleeping. So now we're down to 16 hours. So you have a 16-hour jar, and that is life. And everybody that's living in those 16 hours is giving out energy. And that energy is magnetic. It's going to attract others. Mm-hmm. So whatever energy you choose to put out there during that day, even if you don't even think it's true, that'll be energy in itself. And you'll attract other people that don't think it's true.
True.
So whatever you choose to be, or choose to think, or choose to do, or choose to say, that's what's going to start coming to you. Yeah. So when you start to say, well, listen, I've got to get serious with what I want in my life. Right. And really nail it down. What do you want? And I always tell people, be absolutely specific. If you're not specific, you're going to get that too.
Right.
But the more specific you can be, it may not manifest today or tomorrow, but I'll tell you what, it starts to form. It starts to click. And if you have to maintain it. You can't say, well, I'm going to be really positive for a week, nothing happens. And so, that's craziness. So you stop. Well, then you regress, you go backwards. If you can maintain it and say, this is what I want. And I always keep a vision board of exactly what I want. And
Cool.
I write down the things that I want. And as I get them, I cross them off the list and replace it with the next thing. And it continually works. It continually works. I'm telling you, whether people believe it or not is absolutely irrelevant. It's kind of like your business doesn't care about you.
That's a good point.
Right? Law of attraction doesn't care what you think about law of attraction.
Because it's going to work for or against you, right?
It's working for you or it's working against you. And I choose to have it working for me.
Makes a lot of sense.
And I never realized the importance of specifics with what I want. But that is probably the number one thing. Is you must be extremely, extremely specific with what you want.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing.
I mean, if you say, well, I want to be on the moon within 10 years. Well, that might be a little bit extravagant, but if you really wanted that, you better start getting a way to meet people at SpaceX.
Get on it.
Well, I mean, there's people that have specifics that might seem crazy to others, but they go and do them.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not some magical thing. They just made a choice that I'm going to go do this.
Yep.
Right? I mean, you've got to make a choice in your life at some point.
Yep.
Right? And I just want law of attraction to be working for me. I think it's very powerful.
Good stuff. So,
very good.
All right, going to wind her down. A couple of just whimsical questions. Hey, John, you got a whimsical question? And one question I want to ask you: what's your favorite movie?
Well, can I give you more than one? I mean,
Sure.
I like West Side Story,
good one.
Pulp Fiction. I love Elf. It makes me laugh every time. You know, I have a wide variety. I love Lord of the Rings. It was fascinating to me. So I've got a broad range. I'm not really a favorites kind of guy.
Do you have a favorite?
So many things that I love. Do
you have a favorite mentor?
Yeah, I really liked. Oh gosh, now his name's right on my mouth. Oh my gosh! And
It'll come to you.
Yeah,
okay.
I'll come back to that.
What? While you're thinking about that, let me ask you this hypothetical question. It's my last one. Okay, what would you tell your 24-year-old self if you could meet that person right now? Go back in time.
I would say trust but verify. Verify
being the operative word?
Yep. Well, no, both, because it's easy to get burned and then never trust again.
Mm-hmm.
Right, but you always continue to trust.
Okay, but verify.
Learn how to trust.
All right.
Because the minute you don't trust anybody, you put yourself on an island, and then who the hell do you think you are? Right. So you don't have any friends. Nobody will want to work with you because you don't trust anybody, and that doesn't work. But you have to learn the lesson to trust and verify, because once you verify, then you can move forward.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, I've learned that the hard way by sincerely trusting.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's one of the things I think is a really, really big one. I would also say wrap kindness in all decision making, because I think you can be a humanistic capitalist. I also believe that you should be aware of your choices within your daily living and your business living, so that it is successful yet takes care of the environment.
Mm-hmm.
It's cool.
So those would be my things. If I could go back and I could sell that to myself, it would be different.
I think a third one I would add is don't be afraid to fail, because I know I've learned so much by when I failed.
Well, that fear thing is a killer for people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the whole thing about fear is what stops people.
Yep.
Rarely is it things other than fear, actually.
Yeah.
And I don't know really where the fear comes from. I give people a good example about fear. Do either of you have an iPhone?
No.
Android.
Android? What kind of Android?
Samsung.
You got a Samsung?
Samsung.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cool. What like is it like one of the newer ones?
It's like a
S10.
Galaxy A71 or something.
Yeah,
Like
that'll work. Okay, because I actually need that. Would you give me your phone? I
Sure.
would need to keep it.
that. Okay.
So you need to send it to me.
I'll do that.
I'm not kidding you now. Seriously.
You're gonna
No, hey, I would do it because I could always go out and buy another one.
Okay. So here's my point.
Mhm.
I could ask that to 50 people,
Yeah.
and 50 people, 49 people would say no.
Yeah. That's their life.
Right. But before I asked the question, did I have your phone? No.
Well,
And
I
if
don't
you
know.
said
You,
no
you
to
could
me,
have.
Well, I didn't. 'Cause you
No, I
had
know
to
you
ask.
didn't. No, I
So
know
my
you didn't.
point is that before I asked the question, I didn't have what I asked for.
Yep.
And if you say no to me, I still don't have it. So
Yep.
nothing's changed. The status quo has not changed.
No.
So if you're there's how could there be anything to be fearful of
Yep.
if it's not going to change your own personal status quo?
No,
Right.
makes very much sense.
Right? I think what a lot of people do, they're afraid to hear no because the reason they're afraid is deeper.
Yes.
It's self-confidence. There's something inside them that they feel that if someone says no to them,
It's
that
personal.
they've done something wrong.
Yeah, it's personal.
Yeah, and they take it personally. I
Right.
don't. I will ask people for outrageous things,
Yep.
and you wouldn't believe how many people say yes. Right? I mean, I'll be done an order that's like a $15,000 order, and I'll say, you know what? We are offering, if you order multiple books at the same time,
Mhm.
and really you should have one for each grandchild. So there's a special of 30% off if you order multiple books at the same time. And you brought in 5 grandchildren, so you really have an opportunity to add 4 more books. Now that brings the price of the book down from $3,000 to only $2,000. So for another $10,000, you can take care of all the or $8,000. You can take care of all the kids.
Yeah.
And they'll be like, "All right, do it."
Exactly.
That was a true story.
Yeah, it happened, eh?
That's a true story.
tell that to my wife all the
that
time.
order
Yeah.
went from 15,000 to 23,000.
Yeah.
Now, had I not been willing to ask for that, it sounds audacious, right?
Yep.
But had I not been willing to ask for that, I never would have got it.
Mm-hmm.
I've
cool.
watched, so I've been at studios where they're in a sale and they come out and they go, Larry, you're gonna have to wait. So I'm like, mind if I listen in? Sure, I'm listening. And they come out after they hit the $10,000 mark and they're sweating and they're like, I don't know what to do. They've already got it up to $10,000. What should I do? I gotta give them a discount or something. I'm like, why? Are you done? Are they done? Well, they must be done. Did they tell you that you're done? Just keep taking the order.
Yeah.
Like, don't offer everything that you have. I mean, come on. Like, there's just nothing to be afraid of.
Uh-huh.
Why should you be afraid of a big order that makes your living?
Yep.
Right. So
That's
yeah,
good.
that when it comes to fear, it's a big one.
Yeah,
A big one.
that's good. All right, this has been amazing, Larry. I really appreciate you
much.
coming on board, and I know you're a busy guy and got to get to work. It's your busy season. Can we hit you up again, say 6-7 months from now? Have you
Yep.
back on?
Anytime.
Part
man.
2.
Part 2. That would be amazing because
Okay.
it seems to me we're just scratching the surface, but
Yeah, we really are. I mean, there's a lot.
the stuff that you've brought up is to me so wise and valuable, and
We could go on for 3 hours talking about this stuff.
Listen, the industry has a chance to be great again. Now, listen, I don't want that to associate that with anybody else. Okay.
make photography great again.
Yeah, but I'm not. I'm just saying.
I'm just
There was
saying.
a time when I first got into the industry.
Yeah.
that photographers were highly respected in their communities. They were. They
Yep.
were highly respected. The photographers in communities. I mean, you had to know what you were doing,
Yep.
and you know they were.
Yeah.
They were part of the fabric of the community. Now they are more of the. I don't know what the proper word to use because I don't like to offend anybody, but I just
Yeah.
that
I know.
they're not. They don't have the
No.
esteem that they used to carry, and that doesn't have to be.
No.
Yeah.
It doesn't. And honestly, I am not like that. When I moved to Florida, the studio, my clients all got in there. They called me in letters and all kinds of stuff. Larry, you can't leave yet. You can't. We got our child that's 3 next year, and so they brought me gifts. I've been getting all these gifts for our new
Nice.
baby.
Nice.
You
Yeah.
can still garner that respect by giving them intelligence and kindness and a great product and
Yep.
fearlessness. You can still be a very, very highly successful business. This business of the people are saying that, you can't make any money in photography, it's rubbish.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
Well, I
rubbish.
was up, was it 5 years ago? I was up for an award with the Chamber of Commerce for Skilled Trades Award. I was one of the top 3 up for that award, and it was nice to be recognized that they considered me a skilled trade, because that's like you're saying, they don't consider us that anymore.
They
Maybe
don't.
back in the day, but they don't.
They
And
don't.
I think it still is a skilled trade if they properly do it right.
It's up to us, right? It's up to us.
Yep.
Well, it's up to the industry.
Yeah.
If we keep allowing the current vernacular that's out there, it'll slide further. Like, we have to change that,
Yeah.
right? If we, as an industry, we have to say, okay, what do you have to do to really be successful? If you're a studio that is making between, say, $500,000 to 1.5 a year, right? You're going to get respect in your community.
Mm-hmm.
If you are putting really stunning artwork into people's homes,
Mm-hmm.
and it looks good, it's framed well, it's exquisite. If you're doing that, people are going to talk about it. They're going to ask questions, and that's going to continue. And now you take I almost think right now that it's very much like, shooting fish in a barrel, right? Because there's very few studios out there like that.
Good point. Good
And
points.
so
Opportunity.
The opportunity right now is massive.
Yeah. We just got to see it that way.
It's just so big, and
Yeah.
I mean, we've had, every time we open up a weekend, we sell out, and when we open up a weekend, we sell out.
Nice.
You do 15 sessions, and you're averaging $6,000 a session.
Yeah. That's a
a
good
nice
day's
number.
work.
Yeah.
That's what a
I
lot
love
of
it.
studios make in a whole year, if
Yeah.
that,
Yeah. If that. So
right?
that's pretty good stuff, Larry.
So I hope that helps. I'm happy to
Big time.
come on. Really enjoyed talking to you guys. Good
Thank
to-
you very
We
much.
enjoyed having you for sure.
Yeah, thanks.
You've been a wealth of information. I really appreciate having you on board. And yeah, we'll hit you up again in 6-7 months. We'll have you back. It would be really good to keep the conversation going. I'd really appreciate it. So, Oh, Nancy Tilburg said to say hi, by the way.
Hey, Nancy.
She mentioned that earlier, and I forgot to mention it.
Yeah,
but,
Yeah,
not
and
a
also
problem at all.
Hark was saying he was going to go to Larry's workshop, but it was a day that he was moving, so he'll have to try again the next time he's doing one.
Hark, we're going to be having another one shortly, so in the new year. So we're going to
There
have
we go.
one in either January, February, probably more like February. We're kind of waiting right now because our little girl, she has to have open heart surgery New Year, and we're not sure whether it's going to be January, February, or March. So we're waiting for the surgeon to give us a date, and then we're going to plan our workshops around that.
yeah.
So,
Sounds serious. Well, I hope it works
serious.
out.
But she's an incredible little girl. I mean, she's just got a heart issue that has to be dealt with when she's a baby. But she's an incredible little girl. I'm just totally smitten.
Way to go.
I am.
All right. Well, thanks, Larry. We'll let you go. And thanks, everybody, for joining us. And John, you too. You guys
Yep.
are amazing. Have a great
We'll be
week.
back next week.
Yeah. Thanks, John. Thanks, Rob.
Thanks.
Take care.